Every generation believes it understands men and women, until the next generation proves it wrong. And today, a new silent war defines modern relationships. The war between the female ego and male detachment. It is the battle no one speaks about, the tension everyone feels, and the psychological gap that's pulling men and women further apart than ever before. A gap created not by anger, not by betrayal, not by heartbreak, but by something deeper, the collapse of female entitlement and the rise of male emotional independence. Before we go deeper, hit subscribe and like the video. There was a time when women held absolute emotional power. When a woman's attention was scarce. When her affection was meaningful. When her approval could shape a man's entire identity. But that world doesn't exist anymore. Technology, abundance, dating markets, and emotional burnout changed everything. Women still expect the same power they once had, but men no longer need it. And nothing threatens the female ego more than realizing the male psyche can survive without her. Female ego is not vanity. It is validation hunger. It is the subconscious belief that her value is confirmed only through male attention, male pursuit, male desire. And when that attention becomes inconsistent, limited, or unavailable, her ego cracks, not because she loves the man, but because she loses the mirror reflecting her worth back to her. Male detachment is not coldness. It is emotional discipline. It is the realization that a man's life does not depend on romantic approval. Men detach when the cost of emotional involvement exceeds the reward. And in modern dating, the cost grew so high that detachment became a survival strategy. Not chosen, forced. Women feel this shift instinctively. Men aren't chasing. Men aren't validating. Men aren't bending. Men aren't auditioning. Men aren't desperate. Men aren't emotionally available on command. And for many women, this feels like an attack. Because they were raised to believe that men's attention was a guarantee, and their power was permanent. But male detachment ruins that illusion. It tells women, silently but unmistakably, you're not the reward, you're the option. And my peace matters more than your approval. That sentence, spoken or unspoken, cuts deeper than heartbreak. Because the female ego wasn't built to handle indifference. It was built to handle pursuit, rejection, or conflict, but not neutrality. Neutrality is the death of her influence. The female ego thrives when men compete. It starves when men walk away. And men have walked away. Not from love, but from emotional exploitation. Not from intimacy, but from chaos. Not from women, but from the unrealistic expectations placed upon them. Male detachment is not a rebellion. It is resignation. Men finally realized that the emotional investment required of them is no longer matched by feminine contribution. Men give time, women give attitude. Men bring stability, women bring tests. Men offer loyalty. Women keep options. Men try to lead, women call it control. Men give effort. Women ask, but what else? The male psyche was not built to be endlessly drained. So men disconnected not to punish women, but to preserve themselves. But here's the twist. The more men detach, the more women chase validation, not connection. Female ego cannot accept emotional neutrality. It needs feedback, positive or negative. Silence is ego death. So she does what modern conditioning taught her. She posts more. She flirts more. She tests more. She provokes more. She creates drama, distance, or desire, anything to pull a reaction from him. Because if he reacts, he cares. If he doesn't react, her ego collapses. The male mind works differently. Men detach because detachment returns them to equilibrium. It gives clarity. It gives control. It protects their identity from emotional erosion. Men don't test. Men assess. If the cost is high, the connection is cut. No tantrum. No announcement. No negotiation. Just silence, the most feared language in the female emotional system. Because silence is the moment she realizes she no longer has influence. Women often mistake male detachment for emotional weakness. They think silence means he's hurt, confused, or intimidated. But male silence is almost always a sign of psychological conclusion. He already made the decision. He already saw the pattern. He already detached from the outcome. And the female ego senses it. That's what triggers the panic, the confusion, the anger, the sudden desire for closeness. Not because she wants him, but because she wants back the power she lost. Female ego wants to be chosen. Male detachment refuses to choose under pressure. Female ego wants to be pursued. Male detachment refuses to chase without reciprocity. Female ego wants emotional access. Male detachment closes the door when access becomes abusive. And in that collision, dating collapses. Women complain that men are emotionally unavailable. Men complain that women are emotionally unreasonable. Women say men don't try. Men say effort is never enough. Women say men fear commitment. Men say women weaponize commitment. Both sides feel wronged. But the truth is simpler. Women want emotional domination. Men want emotional peace. Those two desires cannot coexist. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. There's Aiden, who loved deeply but learned quickly that every small disagreement became a character assassination. Whenever he expressed confusion or frustration, he wasn't met with empathy. He was met with accusations. You don't care. You're selfish. You're not who I thought you were. Aiden didn't detach because he stopped loving her. He detached because loving her cost too much. There's Samuel, who did everything right. Flowers, effort, presents, dates, support. But each act became expected. Each sacrifice became mandatory. Each expression of affection became the new baseline. The more he gave, the less appreciated he became. The more he tried, the less respected he felt. Samuel didn't detach because he didn't care. He detached because the emotional economy became one-sided. Then there's Julian, calm, thoughtful, composed. He dated a woman who needed constant reassurance. If he didn't respond within an hour, she panicked. If he set boundaries, she called him cold. If he pulled back, she punished him with passive-aggressive silence. Julian detached not because he was afraid of intimacy, but because he refused to be emotionally blackmailed. And then there's Leo, quiet, observant, self-assured. His girlfriend didn't want partnership. She wanted absolute emotional priority. He was expected to drop everything, every time, validate her constantly, soothe every insecurity, anticipate every disappointment. But when Leo needed support, she disappeared. Leo didn't detach to hurt her. He detached because her ego consumed the entire relationship and left no room for him. This is the psychology behind the growing gap. Men detach because emotional imbalance has consequences. Women push harder because ego collapse feels like death. But the more they push, the more men retreat. The more men retreat, the more the female ego spirals. And the cycle feeds itself endlessly. Here's the truth no one wants to admit. Female ego inflates when male attention is abundant. Male detachment rises when female entitlement becomes unbearable. Both genders created this divide. But only one gender feels blindsided by its outcome. Women believed male devotion was guaranteed. Men believed female loyalty was stable. Both were wrong. Female ego thrives on overestimation. Male detachment thrives on self-preservation. And eventually a breaking point comes. The female ego hits the wall. The male spirit hits fatigue. And the connection dissolves, not with a bang, but with emotional exhaustion. Yet there is an awakening hidden inside this collapse. Men begin to see clearly. They no longer confuse manipulation for affection. They no longer confuse entitlement for standards. They no longer confuse emotional chaos for passion. Women begin to see something else. Detachment is not a game. It's not a tactic. It's not a strategy to get power. It's a sign they already lost it. Because when a man truly detaches, he doesn't come back. Men leave physically long after they leave emotionally. Once a man is gone internally, his body is just catching up. And here is the devastating part. Women cannot pull a detached man back with ego tactics. Not with jealousy. Not with silence. Not with tests. Not with attitude. Not with punishment. Not with drama. Not with seduction. Not with threats. Not with tears. Because all those tactics rely on the assumption that he still cares. Detachment means he doesn't. And when that happens, the gap becomes permanent. But here's the twist. The gap was never meant to destroy men and women. It was meant to awaken them. Awaken women to humility, reciprocity, and accountability. Awaken men to boundaries, self-respect, and emotional autonomy. Because the truth is simple. The female ego is only dangerous when men have no boundaries. Male detachment is only destructive when women have no empathy. When both sides awaken, when both sides meet with clarity instead of ego, connection becomes powerful again. But most people never reach that place. They stay trapped in the dance, her ego demanding, his detachment protecting, both believing the other is the enemy. And that misunderstanding is the reason relationships collapse. So here is the truth no one wants to say but everyone feels. Female ego destroys connection. Male detachment prevents destruction. And the gap between them is where modern love goes to die. See the pattern. Protect your energy. This is DepthRealm.